you know who Marilyn Manson is?
He's a singer.
Yeah, and he got called out. He got called out by one of his ex-girlfriends, saying that he was abusive in the relationship.
He's been canceled, meaning what?
Do you know what cancel culture is?
Oh, so now they basically it's
you know what Me Too is?
Yeah, but it's I was gonna say it's like what do they call it, where you suddenly everybody decides they're not gonna go to Target. What do they call it when you
Yeah. When you try to cancel, when you say that they've done something wrong.
Yeah, but there's another name for it that you would typically use. It's where you're against that Target and you're not going to go there anymore. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
What do they call that?
It's called cancel culture.
Well, that's what you're calling it because that's the thing they call it now. But it's like you're boycotting. Thank you.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
it's
you're
boycotting.
Yeah. So it's like you're boycotted. Okay.
Right. So Marilyn Manson's being boycotted right now or canceled because one of his ex-girlfriends said that he was abusive in their sexual life.
I love that any woman that says anything, you have to automatically believe anything she says.
Yes, exactly.
But a couple, you're fucked if you don't.
Right.
I think a couple other women piled on after her. So, they always pile on, right?
Right. Yeah, like Cosby. So you
like
raped,
Cosby. Exactly.
You raped 50 women over the course of 30 years. None of them ever came forward.
I thought it was hundreds with Cosby.
Yeah, I think it's like 50 something, like whatever. But it could be more. But I'm saying, that you did this for the last 30 years, this is what you've done, and none of them came forward until one woman said something, then they all rushed in.
Right.
I was at a party with him in 1979. Mm-hmm. He drugged and raped me too. Really? I mean, that,
So how long did Cosby, how long was Cosby in prison for? He just got out, but how long was he in for, do you know?
I don't know, 4 or 5 years, right? No. Was it? Three or 4 years, about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I think it was right around 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So do you know the actual like the story behind his case right now? It was a civil case or a criminal case. It wasn't criminal, right? It was civil.
Well, I mean, it's criminal. He was locked up in prison.
It started civil. It started civil where basically this woman was suing him, and he decided he was going to settle the lawsuit. And they settled because she said, look, you gave me whatever it was, LSD, or you gave me something, Quaaludes.
It was Quaaludes, yeah.
Quaaludes, and which kills me because when they say it like this, we were at a party, he drugged me, he raped me.
Yeah.
So his version, of course, is we were at a party, I was taking Quaaludes, I asked her if she wanted some, she took some. We ended up, 30, 45 minutes later, we ended up having sex.
Right.
So it's no different than we were at a party. I was taking some Xanax. The chick I was with said, hey, you got any for me? And I said, absolutely. Here, have one. 45 minutes, we ended up having sex in my car. You drugged and raped her. Like, no different than I was having a couple of drinks. I said, hey, you want a drink? Sure.
Right.
She had a couple drinks.
Shots at the bar.
We ended up having sex in the parking lot. Guess what? You drugged and raped her. I mean, it's like that progression. So he ends up for the purposes of the civil suit, he says, they said, did you drug and rape her? He says, yes, I gave her the Quaaludes. We had sex. I didn't rape her. I did this. I did drug her. I did have sex with her. I did this. I did that. And I'll say all this, provided you're never going to be able to use this. It's never, right. Of course. Then, of course, she gets the settlement. Everything goes through. Boom. Let's put it out there. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to use that against you to file criminal charges, and we're going to charge you, and you're going to go to prison. And then all these other women say, you know what?
Time to get paid.
I was at a party with this guy 20 years ago. He raped me too. And suddenly everybody jumps on the bandwagon. Next thing you know, this guy's apparently been raping people, every few weeks for the last 30 or 40 years. And he's 80-something years old, and he ends up going to prison. And then, of course, the judge finally looks at it and says, well, wait a second. You can't use this. But on top of that, he's admitting to something for the purposes of a lawsuit.
For a civil lawsuit.
Right. Like, he's not like...
Civil lawsuits are all about money. They're all about getting a settlement.
Right.
A criminal lawsuit is actually for prison time.
Right, because that's the way you make it right. Like that, you and I get into an argument or something, and you cost me money somehow, you get me fired from my job, you do whatever, you slander me somehow, and I get fired, and I lose my house, and I turn around and I sue you, and then I prove that that's true, that what you said was a lie, and you got me, you You got me fired, and I ended up losing my house. I had to start over. Well, guess what? Now you owe me money, and that's how you do it, because I can't come over and club you, and I can't throw you in prison.
Right.
Because it's civil. It's not, what you did was wrong, but it's not illegal. So, you know, you handle it civilly, and that's what they handled it civilly. We handled this civilly because we have a difference of opinion. You're saying I drugged and raped you. I'm saying we were at a party and we both got fucked up and we had sex.
Yeah.
You know, it's a difference of opinion, but I don't, obviously I'm Bill Cosby. I don't want this to go any further. I'm an 80-year-old man. I'm going to give you a couple $1 million. That's nothing to me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So Bill Cosby, going back to Bill Cosby, his lawyer that he used was one of Trump's lawyers. He was one of the lawyers Trump used for his impeachment trial, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, Trump lawyer. Oh, look at how quick that was, Austin. Fuck.
Damn.
Trump lawyer Bruce Castor plays a central role in the Bill Cosby going free. Look at Bill.
That's not Bill.
Yeah, it is. That's fucking Bill.
It's a fucking white guy.
No, that's his lawyer. That's Bill's lawyer, Bruce. That's what I said, Bruce.
You said, look at Bill.
Look at Bill.
I said, look at Bruce. Run it
You're
back.
all fucked up today,
Run it
bro.
back, bud.
Your words are all jumbled up.
Run it back, pal. Lawyer Bruce Castor has now gotten 2 extremely high-profile Americans off this year in a much-watched legal proceeding. First came President Donald Trump. Now comes Bill Cosby. That's crazy. So, so what is the reason? So Bill, when he went to prison for a few years for this case, basically the judge who looked at this said, you can't take this evidence, you can't take the shit that went down in the civil lawsuit, you can't take it to a federal. You can't take it to a criminal, transfer it into a criminal lawsuit. So it goes against the rules, right?
Well, I mean, he was just, he's saying that it's different. First of all,
well, first
you
of all,
weren't allowed to use it.
We
all agree this cannot be used. You cannot, you know, this is for the sole purposes of this trial, blah, blah, blah. And then they end up and give it to the.
So obviously rape is a very bad thing. You know, it's not good to rape people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when
we can agree.
You got hundreds of people, you got hundreds of women saying that you raped them, right? Like you should be in fucking prison if you're raping hundreds of people,
right?
But what he's saying is,
there's also statute of limitations. You know what I'm saying? So the statute of limitations on almost all of them was up, almost all of them. But I love that it's all up, but they all get to come in when you're sentenced. They all get to line up and talk.
Yeah.
Okay, well, wait a second. Her statute of limitations. She wasn't. I didn't rape her. She said you did. We're going to let that stand.
Let her come up, right?
You know, so. They get to go in and say, you know, oh, in 19...
So are they saying they fucked up by, like, it was fucked up? They should not have locked him up?
Yeah. No, what they did was they said this evidence could not have been used. And as a result of that, I'm throwing it out with prejudice. So you can't use it. You can't bring it back. And I'm dismissing the charges with prejudice. You cannot recharge him. So the state can't come in and say, oh, we're going to charge him again and without the evidence. No, the judge is saying, 1, you're not using it again. 2, you're not charging him again.
Yeah.
Right. Go home.
So here's the thing. What were you going to say?
So you don't think the whole time he's going through his trial or whatever, him and his lawyers have to know, like, you can't be using this evidence.
Yeah,
right?
But it's always subject. I mean, it's always subjective. Like, and look, there's stuff where it's clearly you cannot use this evidence.
Right.
And the U.S. attorney will argue it, Your Honor, but this and this. And sometimes the judge will go, well, I'm going to allow it. And what are you talking about? Like the defense will say, well, statute such and such says, I disagree. And they'll, knowing that you understand that this will be appealed. And it'll be thrown out, and the whole thing will be thrown out. But the judges know, and the U.S. attorneys know. They're like, yeah, I know, but think about it. It's going to the trial's this long. By the time he gets to prison, by the time he appeals it, by the time he does this, it's 2 years. Then even if he gets a new trial, which is probably pretty good, it's going to be 6 months before we have to be to trial. We'll delay it as much as we can. We'll get another 3 years. He'll do 3 years before he gets back in front of a jury, and he's already lost once. So we can probably negotiate with him during that period of time to say, look, immediate release, but you have to plead guilty. And most guys, even if they're innocent,
just going to say, all right,
fine, just let me out. Like I'll be a felon. I don't care. Just let me out. Like now it's 3 years, you're traumatized. And you see how the system works, and you realize how stacked against you it is. So you realize right away, look, I'll do anything just to escape the situation. Like I've got 20 years and you're going to let me out after 3. I'll take it.
Cool, yeah.
Even though I haven't done anything. Most of the time when they do stuff like like the Innocence Project comes in and stuff, and they'll say, look, turns out that all this evidence that you have against this guy, you said this is his blood. You said this is his fingerprints. You said this. You said, guess what? Not his blood, not this, not that. Most of the time, the states will come in and say, we're going to retry him. What are you talking about? Your main evidence was the blood, was the semen. It's not his. It's 100%. We actually have another person that it may be that died in prison 2 years ago. What are you talking about? And they're like, no, we're going to retry him.
We'll try it again.
Because they're like, look, first of all, the guy's, he's been locked up 10 years. He knows how bad it is. He knows the chance that he got
and
this
he's
over.
innocent.
Yeah, what? He's innocent. He's in prison. And the chance, he knows that this was a fluke. So he knows if we retry him, there's a chance
he's going back.
he might still get found guilty. And we're going to use that to try and get him to plead guilty so that he can't sue us for what we did to him.
Right.
And most guys will say,
yeah,
okay, I'll take it. Like, wait, you didn't rape her. You didn't rape and murder that woman. You didn't do this. You didn't do any of this. It's all 100% true. We can prove it now. You're still ready to sign something and walk away. Why? Because I thought I was going to die in prison, and I'm just desperate to just get out.
Right, you just want to get the fuck out.
Right. For all I know, I could be killed in here before I walk out of here.
Right.
Especially now that people have seen me on the news and they know I'm getting out. A lot of jealousy in prison. People will attack you for no reason. A lot of guys won't tell people when they're getting out. Like, a lot of guys will be like, look, don't go around like the last month or two saying, yeah, man, I'm out of here in a month. I'm out of here in a month. Because a lot of these guys aren't getting out for 10 years. Some of these guys are going to die in here. And you're walking around saying that, there's a lot of people that are bipolar. They'll flip out on you and attack you. So don't say nothing. So, you don't know what's going to happen. These guys are signing just to walk out the door. Of course, once they're outside, they turn around and they're like, I should have sued. I should have this. I shouldn't have signed that paper. I shouldn't.
Right.
But you were under such duress.
Right.
Plus, wasn't part of the argument that he's fucking 80 years old, like letting this guy out, even if he's a rapist, he's nothing to worry about. He's a fucking 80-year-old.
He's not a risk. He's not a risk.
He's not like a fucking 30-year-old guy who's a serial rapist.
Plus, these women aren't saying that he beat me. He beat me, bound me, threw me in the trunk of his car, drove me out in the woods, raped me, and left me for dead. They're saying, hey, he slipped me a Mickey, and next thing you know, he looked good, and he's famous and rich, so I had sex with him. They're not saying he beat on me and held me down, and my eyes were black and blue, and broke my nose, and
Right.